Good morning. We are at the Unity Museum, and today is the June 7th, and it's 11:39. And much to our surprise, we had this wonderful. We are having this wonderful visit here with
Tom Dopps,
Tom Dopps, who at the present time is residing at
Port Orchard.
Port Orchard in the state of Washington. So his daughter brought him up here. Granddaughter brought him up here, and she didn't tell him that there was a Baha'i connection here, and so we're both just sort of bursting out all over. And I would like now to introduce you to Tom, and we're going to just be chitty-chatting away. And I want you to start, Tom, telling us when and how you became a Baha'i in Seattle back in March 1st, 1964. Here you go, Tom.
Okay, this in 1963, I was studying the faith for about a year, and I'm sorry I didn't join back then because I would have been the same age as the Universal House of Justice. But anyway, by 64, March 1st, Victor D. Rougeau, who was the chairman of the King County LSA at the time, asked me after many times studying with him and Eugene King and Melba, said, when are you going to become a Baha'i? And I said, might as well do it now. And so I signed my card, and then the next thing he says, you realize tomorrow begins the fast, don't you? So beginning my first day as a Baha'i, I did the fast. I was really happy to have done it because it's a memorable day in my mind right now, March 1st.
Forever, yes.
Uh-huh.
Can you remember who else was around you at that time in the community in '64?
I think Betty was serving
Rougeau,
snacks, yeah. But actually, for other people, I can't at the time.
No.
I did know Janabi Caldwell during those days.
Yes.
He lived in Seattle area. So
Janabi lived in Seattle?
I think so, because I met him here.
But really?
In Seattle. So.
See, this is all a surprise. Okay. That's very cool.
And I think two of my favorite teachers during those days was Eugene and Melba King. And I used to visit them in their house one time. And
where did they live? Do you remember around?
I think it was Queen Anne Hill, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
That.
Where did Betty and Victor live? Do you know?
That I don't know.
Okay.
But one day when I was visiting Eugene and Melba, Melba asked me to take her to the clinic. I says, okay. Says, I don't know how to get there or where it is. And she says, okay, I'll direct you.
Because she was blind, yeah.
Yes, she was blind, and both of them, Eugene and Melba, were blind. Anyway, it was summer day, the windows were down, and she says, okay, take off and go straight. And so I did, and a little bit later she says, turn here to the left. And I turned to the left, and then a bit later she turned to the right, and I turned to the right and went away, and she says, it should be right across the street. So there was the clinic.
Really? She gave you direction blind just by, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And I said, that's amazing. How did you do that?
Yeah.
He says, well, I just listened to the echoes off the building and gave you the same route that the bus takes. I'm sorry it took a little longer this way.
Wow, by the echoes of the building. Now I've learned everything.
Yeah, I was amazed. It's one of my favorite stories.
I would, that's, you can't match that with another story, that's for sure. So, okay, at the time being, do you think, how many Baha'is do you think were in Seattle? Eyeballing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Kirkland had some, and I had
Yeah.
My neighbors were Baha'is in Kirkland, and
Who were they? Do you remember their name?
Norm and Nancy Larson, they had a couple daughters. So.
Okay, okay.
And it's been, I haven't seen them since 1960 probably.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to figure out if they're still alive, yeah. So then you went to Kirkland. So tell me a little bit about your Baha'i journey then, the next few years. So you lived in North King County for how long?
About 6 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
In Kirkland.
Oh, in Kirkland, okay.
Which is I was actually, I was even on the Assembly of North King County the first year, I think.
Really? Okay.
And I was unemployed at the time,
yes.
The last year here, and getting a divorce, unfortunately.
Yes.
But I wound up getting hired to go to Alaska.
What did you do? Can I ask you?
Yeah, I was an electronic technician.
Oh, electronics, okay.
Trained at Boeing's. And,
you have a job anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and I worked several places, but being 86 years old, I find that if I need to learn something or get something hooked up, I have to ask my granddaughter anymore. So.
Well, we've just been, we're approaching the end of the fall of our life. We're not in the winter yet, but we're at the end of the fall. We're in the colorful season. The leaves are turning all sorts of colors. So then so how long were you in Alaska?
Where?
How long were you in Alaska?
I spent, I think, 12 years the first time. At the end of the 9-year plan in 1976, I decided to go pioneering.
So where did you go pioneering?
I wound up being actually what they call, the Universal House called a traveling pioneer.
Yes.
They mentioned it in one letter at least.
Yes.
So I would stay 2 or 3 years in a place and move on, and I wound up living in about 10 different countries.
Countries? Like, Nate, can you name some of them?
Yeah, the first one, it was actually before 76, was Tonga.
Tonga, really?
Yeah, I spent 4 months there in a travel teaching.
Really? Because it's quite a good Baha'i Tongan community in South Seattle, just to let you know.
Right, and in Alaska too. They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're so great. And then where? And then remember where after that?
Yeah, I went to the international conference in 1976 at the end of the 9-year plan, and I went from there to Iceland.
Really? Iceland? Yeah. Wow.
And after about 6 months, Iceland was having trouble filling their goal area of the Faroe Islands. So they asked me to go there.
Did you? There. Mike Revere later went to the Faroe Islands, and Beth McKenty went to the Faroe Islands. So did you? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know them. They must have been a little later.
So I'm sure they were later. So you were in the Faroe Islands when and for how long?
76 and 77, and just before I left Alaska, one of our close friends and a devoted Baha'i, Ed Russell, passed away on the eve of going to Ireland on a teaching trip. So I tried to take over his trip, and I went to Ireland for about 5 months. And I loved Ireland. Lovely country.
Okay. And so Faroe Islands, that's really a wonderful place. And later on, I'll let you know, it's a very healthy community on Faroe Island today.
Great.
So you did some wonderful work there. So then from the Faroe Islands, you went where?
I went from there to Japan for a year.
What year was that? Do you remember?
1979.
Okay, was Barbara Sims there already?
Yes.
Yes.
I remember her.
Her daughter is in Victoria, on Victoria Island, just to let you know. Right. Yeah. So, of course, Japan will turn ablaze. So, and what did you say, what year? 70 what?
79. Yeah.
So was Agnes still there? Alexander?
Oh no, she was in Hawaii.
Yeah,
I
she was
think,
already
by
in
this
Hawaii
time.
because she
Yeah.
passes away, right.
Yeah.
You see, that's where I became a Baha'i, and she passes away within a short while when I was there.
Yes.
So you were there, Barbara Sims, in Japan, and Sandy Photos was her daughter, and the Baha'i faith. And how long were you in Japan? For a year, did you say?
Uh-huh.
Wow. In what, Tokyo, or where did you be? Where were you?
I actually lived in Sapporo in northern Japan.
Oh, in Sapporo.
Yeah, and that was big enough city for me. Tokyo is huge.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
And the faith is really doing well. They just had their conferences right now in Japan, too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Yokohama, they're having a youth conference in Yokohama, and Tokyo had a huge conference, so it was really exciting. So, okay, so now we're in 76? No, where are we?
79.
Oh, 79. Okay, so now what?
I read one of the letters from the Universal House of Justice in a year or two before Japan mentioned tutorial schools, and that caught my fancy. I love the idea of a tutorial school. People untrained going out and doing what they could.
Yes.
And so I wound up going from Japan to Paraguay.
Really? Paraguay?
Yeah,
Wow.
I spent 3 years there.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow, 3 years in Paraguay. So is that the area now where Hupadamba,
Yes.
right? Hupadamba is, and Inakalinga is visiting during those years. Okay.
I didn't meet Ina Kalinga. I saw videos of him.
Yes.
But I knew Hooper fairly well. So.
Really, he's my hero. As you know, Hooper is still alive and doing well, retired, and lives in Northern California, and his artwork is just renowned and is exhibited in galleries around the world.
Right. And I saw him, I think, in the video The Gate.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The Gate. So that's an amazing video that Steve Sarowitz and of course Ed Price, were able to produce, and both of them have. Well, Steve Sarowitz has been to our museum here. So Paraguay. So now you're in Paraguay for how long?
For 3 years.
Okay.
The first year, I went out with they were going from village to village for Bahai elections.
Ah, yes.
And I went with them because they didn't have anybody else to drive. So I did a lot of driving in all the villages and really liked it. But it had a fallback. When they voted for the NSA, I got elected to the NSA.
Oh, I am so proud of you. Of course they would.
I'd been there about a month.
They knew a good thing when they saw it.
And
how long did you serve on that?
I think it was 1 year. It might have been 2. I don't remember.
Okay. What's the city the city that you were residing in Paraguay?
Rosario was. I stayed quite a while in Asunción, where the NSA was.
I see. Okay.
But I moved to Rosario the first year for a short while.
Yes.
And they asked me then to go on the border with Brazil on the east coast. And
yes.
to take over a tutorial school that they had started, but the teacher had to leave. So,
I see.
So I spent 2 years teaching.
In Brazil?
In the
tutorial school.
Tutorial school in Paraguay. And
I see.
Is near a town in Brazil called Pedro Juan Caballero.
I see.
Gentleman Pedro Juan.
Okay.
But I loved it, and it worked perfectly actually, and we had curricula for the first and second grades put out by Ruhi in Colombia, and it's totally different than the Ruhi.
Yes.
Modern Ruhi, but it worked really, really excellent.
Because the Murdy, Puva Murdy, he had the teaching booklets, which was really what you and I would refer later on his presentation. We had the forerunner of all of that way back in the 70s in Hawaii too. And so go ahead. So I'm happy to hear that you feel just the way I do, that we really already had it way back in the days.
Yes. So that was 1981 and 82.
Uh-huh.
And the result of that was the kids learned to read and write Spanish perfectly, which I was teaching in the rookie courses.
Really?
And they taught me how to speak Spanish. So it worked perfectly all around.
It was a win-win.
Yes.
Yes. So then you were at that tutorial school for how long?
For 2 years.
For another 2 years, okay. Yeah. And then now we're in
83. I went back to Alaska, and Elaine Caldwell, actually Janabe's wife, asked me if I wanted to go to Haifa and work. So I said yes, and I went to Haifa for 3 years.
Did you really?
Yes.
What department did you work in?
I worked in the Universal House Adjusted Building, building maintenance, lights, and all kinds of stuff, you know. So, and I loved it. Loved it.
Of course you did. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe your life. That is an amazing life. So, okay, now you're in Haifa for 3 years, working in supervising the maintenance of the seat of the Universal House of Justice. Okay, and then what?
Then, after 3 years there, I moved to Panama, pioneered to Panama.
Really? Really? I've been to Panama, yes.
Yeah. And when I was in Panama, I ran out of money.
Yes.
So I actually was living quite cheaply all those years. But
yes.
It runs out finally.
It does, yes.
So I got a job in the canal zone in Panama.
You did? Oh, I've been through the canal zone. Our boat lost its anchor. Hydraulics broke down on the Cologne side of anchor. So we had to sit there for 2-3 weeks until they could fix and fly a new hydraulics. So I know all about the canal zone. So therefore, that was prior to the building of the temple, or
no, the temple was there.
The temple was there. Okay, so that was after you came there, after Elena Marcella was in Panama.
I think so, because I don't remember her.
Yeah, she became a consul later on in the Gilbert Islands and in Hawaii. But she spent considerable time in Panama too.
Right.
So who was in Panama at the time when you were there?
Actually, I don't remember names.
Okay,
really.
oh no, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So we're talking 1980...
83 to, and I stayed there about 6 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, because I had to work, and
I
built my savings back up.
Yeah.
But I lived actually in a suburb of Panama City called Pan de Azúcar, sweetbread.
Oh, sweetbread, okay.
And from the roof of my house, when I could get up there, I could see the temple.
Really?
Yeah. And so I went to the temple all the time.
What a memory. What a memory. What did it feel like in those days to drive up to that dirt road going up to the temple?
I don't really remember driving up, but I remember being at the temple many, many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, what a wonderful memory. So then you left Panama.
Yeah, the memory is actually pretty easy because it was chunks of time, 2 or 3 years usually, so I can remember dates quite well.
I'm so excited that you can remember it. And so after Panama we went where?
Then I went to Ecuador for 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, 93 to 96. And
Ecuador. Just trying to think. Gil Grassley was he in Ecuador? No, maybe not.
The name's kind of familiar. So.
Yeah, I know he was on the NSA in that part of the world, and I can't remember what NSA he was on, but he passed away not too long ago. But so Ecuador, okay, and so do you remember any of the names? Because it goes back quite a while now. And
I'm very poor with names.
Okay, don't worry about it. It's not important. So you were then in Ecuador for how long?
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
And Ecuador is part of the circle of Bahai radio stations. So
Of course.
So I worked for the Bahai radio up there. For
Really?
2 years. Yeah.
Oh my
I loved
gosh.
it. So.
That was historic. When that radio station opened, it became the role model to the world.
Right.
What the power of radio stations can do.
Right.
So for how long were you with the radio station?
Well, all my time there.
Really? Which was how long?
3 years.
Really?
Yeah. And they have a series of them. They have Panama, Ecuador, Chile,
Yes.
Bolivia, and Peru.
Yes.
And a couple of times I made trips to all of them and back. Quick, day or two trips. And
You really were a travel pioneer, weren't you?
I consider myself one, and I'm glad the Universal House mentioned it in one of their writings, because usually you think of a pioneer as going to a place and settling. I didn't settle anywhere.
You were just a travel teacher.
Uh-huh.
That's, a teacher is a teacher. It doesn't matter where you are, We all have our moments in time. I call it our 2 moments in time. I happen to be the mother of Hanoi. Don't ask me why, Vietnam. But we just end up in places when we least expect it because we're travel teaching.
Right. And that's quite an honor to be the mother of Hanoi.
I know. I didn't know that. They told me that 20 years later that I'm in their history, but we won't talk about me. Yeah. So then what happened next?
Then I came back to Alaska to retire from the teaching and just live. And for a while in Craig, Alaska, where I lived, they had an LSA, but after a few years, the people left and it disappeared, unfortunately.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Especially during the 10-year crusade, all the local assembly members took off and the local community was left behind, with hardly any what we call strength, right? Uh-huh. So then you lived in Alaska from?
I actually came back from pioneering in 1996.
Okay.
But I moved to Alaska early in 1997.
Yes.
I lived in Craig and Klawock on Prince of Wales Island for, 26 years until I came down here.
And you came down here?
To live with my granddaughter.
Yeah, how long ago? I meant.
It was December.
Just this December?
Yes.
Last December.
Yeah,
we are so privileged to have you in our state.
Yeah, it turned out I had cancer, and I pretty well decided I can't, read well enough anymore to follow the paperwork to do it. So I was just going to wait and see what happened. And my granddaughter didn't like that, so she says, "Come live with us." And so I'm living with them now.
What a blessing!
Yeah,
what a bounty! At our age, to have our grandchildren around us is something that is a gift. Is a gift for what we must, we can just be thankful. But I tell you, as I shared with you, I've been now widowed 3 times, right? Even though I was divorced once, to the father of my children, and he became a Jehovah's Witness. But we were friends right until through his nursing home and Parkinson's disease. We were close friends, right? And then he died, and then JT died, and then Peter died. So I've got 3 husbands in the next world, and my children are in Maui, and so I'm so thankful that Amy allowed me to be a companion in the house right down the street from us. And so I'm all resettled, and we can work on the museum, and Amy is on the board of directors, and Cameron here that is sitting with us, Cameron Cook, is really our assistant techno A cook, yeah, baker, IT person, maintenance person, the wind under my wings. He is the most important person for, I think, for all of us here. Without him, he opens it every day, he closes it every day. I don't know what I would do without him. So we're all a community of supporting each other.
Yep.
So we have to be so thankful where the wind drifts us. Why I didn't realize right away you're a Baha'i. I mean, you got a Baha'i T-shirt on. You got a one. What took me so long? That happens when you're my age, right? I should have known right away you're a Baha'i, but you didn't know that you were walking into a Baha'i.
No, it was a total surprise.
Total surprise.
A wonderful surprise.
Isn't that so great at our age? We still have wonderful surprises.
Yes.
I tell you, we're brothers, we're sisters. We are workers in this cause. And until the day we take our last breath, we will work those wheels to absolutely bring about the cause of his manifestation, Baha'u'llah, for this day and age. And we don't stop one moment of every single day. We're so lucky in this Unity Museum. People come and go all the time.
There's kind of a story about the motto on my hat, which it was given to me by a friend. It's one planet, one people, please.
Oh, yes.
Old Baha'i greeting. This was given to me in 1973 by friends Leo and Joyce Baldwin, who are in Tumwater now.
Oh.
Retired. But I love the quote.
It is a beautiful quote. They have a song about it, too.
Right.
And then the youth workshop picked it up. It's it's their slogan.
And I was in 73, at the same time I was adopted into the Tlingit tribe of Alaska.
Really?
By Andrea Moss's mother. And Andrea lives now in Silverdale, along with her husband, Don. The interesting part of the story is Andrea's grandmother adopted Rahia Hanum into the Tlingit tribes. So she, by adoption, is an aunt of mine, I think. So.
Did they give you a Tlingit title at that time?
Yes.
What is it?
Kushka Ish, which means spirit father. And later on, a year ago, Andrea Moss's daughter said, "This is my regalia for the Tlingit meetings that I go to. Is this one planet, one people, please?"
We beg for that, don't we? Every single day we turn on the TV and we just want to say, one planet, one people, please, right? Right? So, can you think of some stories you like to share, or sort of free for all?
Yes. The one about the school I was most proud of. I taught 6 kids to read and write in Spanish equal to the local school level, and had to do other things too. I taught some geography and how to count money and stuff. And, I was really most proud of that, of anything that I did anywhere. So.
Every little pearl on the string of pearls, every pearl is so important. And I think when you have a legacy like that through all the worlds of God, right? It will never go away. There you go. It's there. Right. There you have it. It is part of your legacy. It's part of your heritage.
Right.
It is part of their heritage. I'm just I was ashamed. I can't believe with this T-shirt and this hat on, I didn't recognize right away it was a Bahai. Boy, was I slow.
And the quote of my hat.
Yeah. So.
The patches got in 1973. The hat is newer than that.
Keep swapping them on the new hats.
Oh, I don't know if you knew that or not. Yesterday, Jimmy Seals passed away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know. I hate to bring you the news, but the Baha'i world is in mourning right now, right? So both of them are gone now. And so anyway, yeah, that just happened yesterday morning.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I met them both twice, but, quite a while ago.
Where did you meet them?
I don't even remember.
Oh, yeah, I know. We meet because, Sears and Croft were everywhere in those huge firesides. Singularly, as a team, they were the largest teaching team, really, globally. Uh-huh. And it's just remarkable. But coming back a little bit to Kirkland, do you have anything you like to add, what you remember about the faith in Kirkland now that you look back on it, way back when?
No, the only I knew the Larsons, Norman Nancy, and
what were the activities? What were they doing at that time?
All I know they were doing was talking to me.
Talking to you. But otherwise, they were firesiding.
Right, but I think it was Nancy had a brother or something. I met them too. And Arnie somebody, I think his name was. But I don't remember. I attended a couple of firesides.
Yes. And well, it's 64. We're talking almost 60 years ago.
Yeah, 58 or something like that.
We'll round it up. Our age, we round it up, right?
Yes.
It's either 50 years or 60 years,
right.
And then the rest is just a matter of small detail. Yeah. But that's because Kirkland, like every community right now, they're all trying to put their last century together. And what we just, through this recording, just gave him a history moment in their history. Wait until they hear. We've got somebody sitting here that became a Baha'i in Kirkland. They're going to jump out of their skins. I mean, really, this is historic for them. And I am just so touched by there's no such thing as coincidence in life. And for that community, this is really amazing. And I'm sure they would just love to invite you into a special gathering with the Kirkland community, because to them that would, especially to the young generation, to talk to somebody who became a Bahai in 64 in their community, it's a strong community, Kirkland. Mm-hmm. So this would be very memorable, and maybe we can figure out how to make that happen, and I'll be sure to be there. So it's just wonderful today, and I don't want to wear you out, and so...
Well, actually, you did mention Dan Jordan earlier.
Yes.
And his sister lived in Nenana, Alaska, where I first went when I went to Alaska. And her family, Blaine Reed and Bonnie Reed and all their kids, were mentors to me all the time I was in Alaska.
Really? Yes. Well, Alaska with the Army of Light, right?
Uh-huh.
With the Army of Light. So I was in Hawaii with the Light of the Pacific and the Army of Light. Alaska, we almost simultaneously went to what we call mass teaching. And we thought we were the only one, and then Alaska said, well, we're the only one, and we suddenly realized we were both really on that same wavelength, because we had our own NSAs, right? Alaska had theirs, and Hawaii had theirs, and then we went deep into the Pacific, and it was an incredible time.
Right.
Rebecca Murphy, and right?
I was there when she was first learning the faith.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
I remember her and a couple of her girlfriends were attending all the mass teaching events, and I found out later that she became a counselor.
That's right.
Much years after that, but she was great. So
she was great, and she was just dynamic, wasn't she?
Yes.
What else do you remember about her when you were there with her? She was sort of energetic, and
I remember I went to a Baha'i meeting during Baha'i mass teaching, and there was this older black fellow that fell in love with me or something. But all through the meeting, he would hold my hand, and later on, he gave a car to Baha'u'llah. And I remember I was in a car with Becky Murphy one time, and she was telling how much trouble she had getting rid of a car dedicated to Baha'u'llah. She worked and worked and worked to do that. She said.
Did. You know, her son lives right here.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So this is a wonderful story because Tom and Judy Rome, she is on our board of directors for the museum. Their daughter married Rebecca's son. So this is a wonderful story that I know they will treasure to look back on that moment that, you know, that you remember. No such thing as a coincidence today, is it?
Yeah, I remember that clear as plain as day. So.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you think you'd like to add? This is a chance.
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of all of us sitting here. I am deeply touched to have met you. It's a privilege for me to have met you. The fact that we were able to record you is really a gift to the future generations of the Baha'i community. And I am deeply, I'm just amazed that we have this opportunity.
Uh-huh.
So thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.